know the pipes mean one thing and one thing only here. It's time for Derfcast, episode number 38. My favorite measurements for you mean guys out there, if you figure that out, followed by 2 Ds. Anyway, we are recording here in the beautiful, what a horrible beginning, but I'm going to keep it. We are recording here in the beautiful inner sunset of San Francisco. I'm joined by Max, the security guard at the door, and Pipes, the engineer. You could listen to the show on SoundCloud. Type in Derfcast, all capitals, or you can go to Facebook, same thing. And now we are a member of, where is it? What are we a member of here? And I know I'm going to get yelled at for not remembering the new Ralph Tycho's page on, oh God, I'm just doing a horrible beginning, and I'm going to go right into my guest. I've had a hard day today, folks. It's been hard, but I got hired at Pac Bell, home of the San Francisco Giants. I'm now an employee, a part-time employee there, and brought my cat to the vet tonight, Max, and that cost me a bit of cash, but got good news about that. And we're a member of the Comfortably Zoned Network on iTunes. I am joined by a returning guest, one of my favorite guests, a man who's written 3, count them, that's the number before 3 books on wrestling, which are all wonderfully wrote and painstakingly done. He's currently writing his autobiography. He's done every single thing there is to be done in the world of wrestling, from announcing to wrestling to booking to promoting, and he's waiting for me to shut the hell up so I could bring him on the show. Welcome, Billy Anderson.
Hi, Fred. Thank you. That was one heck of an introduction.
I'm sorry. I just started talking. It's been a long day. The vet cost me $300. And
well, I hear you. And I've had a trying day, too. After I did my normal 8 hours of work, I committed to a challenge to eat a 3-pound burger, which I was able to eat, which is, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I was able to eat it. And then, but I couldn't eat all of fries. They give you a pound of fries to go with it, so I couldn't eat those.
Oh, my God.
But I did my burger, but I was cheered on by some really good friends at work, and I appreciated that. And came out, drove way out of their way across Phoenix to come watch me do this. And then I made it home just in time to talk with you.
Oh, I appreciate it. And let me apologize to Ralph Tycho, who has graciously included me on his podcast network on iTunes, Comfortably Zoned Radio. I am so sorry. Like I said, I usually write all this down, but everything's been a spur of the moment today. But I have been looking forward to talking to you, Billy. I'm so excited. You've been on 4 times now. You've drawn the most hits on SoundCloud than anybody. Please tell us about the book that you're writing and the 3rd book that's just out.
Well, okay, my latest book I just finished that I'm selling is it's selling pretty good right now, and it's my fallen Big Bill Anderson remembers his fallen friends of Mexico, and it's a tribute book about 30 wrestlers from Mexico that have all passed away. That's the one thing they have in common. Most of them were wrestlers that I wrestled against and traveled with down the road in Mexico City, Guadalajara, around the border towns, or Los Angeles for that matter. And Eddie Guerrero's in the book, and so is the Great Goliath, 2 very Americanized style wrestlers, even though they participated quite a bit in Mexico. But I wanted to pay tribute to a lot of my friends in Mexico. And this is what leads up to me finally doing my autobiography. Here I am, almost at 60 years of age, finally writing this, and I'm probably about near halfway done with it right now, without a lot of editing still to be done, but halfway done. But I needed to do my first 3 books were very important to me. My first book was a tribute to my students that I trained. Guys like the Ultimate Warrior, Sting, Louis Spicoli, Ricky Ataki, many guys that came through my school, Frankie Kazarian, the Godfather used to train at my school, even Chris Jericho at one time. A lot of guys came through my school and spent time with me, and I wanted to pay a tribute back to them and honor these guys by writing about them and what it was like to be in the ring with them and train them and spend time with them on the road and things like that. A lot of guys from foreign countries, from Germany, Japan, the Samoan Islands, Australia, New Zealand. I had guys all over the place, Sweden, Denmark, Austria. And so that was the first book. And then my second book, I I needed to pay tribute to other fallen friends of wrestling that have passed away. There were really, many of them are my total heroes. Guys like John, the Boulder Greek John Tolis, Freddie Blassie, Professor Toru Tanaka, the fabulous Moolah, and George Cannon, George Crybaby Cannon, the manager of the Kangaroos, and Kangaroos, Al Costello and Don Kenner in that book, along with Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, who I was in the ring with, and Studd both, and wrestled against. So I needed to pay tribute to a lot of friends to kind of get that a little bit off my conscience. And then, like I said, it led into my third book, paying tribute to my Mexican wrestling friends. That I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and I had a lot of success there. And now I feel I've cleared away a lot of that out of my brain so that I can write more in depth about all the traveling and all the other things I've done, my travels. I spent 5 months in my life wrestling in Japan for the FMW promotion in the early 90s. And I've been overseas to so many things. I did 2 tours for Armed Forces Entertainment, one a Middle East tour and one a Pacific tour. And on the Middle East tour, I got to go to Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Kuwait, Bahrain, Egypt, and England and France. And then my Pacific tour, I was fortunate enough to spend a week in South Korea entertaining our troops. These are all the military bases entertaining troops overseas back in the early 2000s. And in the Pacific tour, I got to go, I spent a week in Honolulu at Hickam Air Force Base entertaining the troops stationed there. I was in many of the islands, like Guam, Okinawa, Johnston Island, Kwajalein, Chuck, all these different islands to the Pacific. We entertained the troops there. And I spent a week in South Korea. We did a show at Yokota Air Force Base in Tokyo. And I was with the one-man gang and the honky-tonk man over there, which it doesn't get much better than that. One-man gang is one of the greatest friends I have, and a really cool guy, down-to-earth big man, and really love him. And so I've had a chance to do a lot of fortunate things like that, so I want to write about it and share my memories of being on the road with all these guys and some of the wacky things that have happened and that we've done and places we've gone and people we've met and just talk about what it was like to entertain our troops. They're the heroes, you know.
Oh,
definitely. I got off the plane. I got off a C-130 cargo plane in Afghanistan, in Bagram Air Base, in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., and these soldiers came out to greet us, and they were all in tears. This is 6 months after 9/11. And they were all in tears as we got off the plane. It was me and Sam, Sam from the Islanders and
Samu.
Samu, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't even my train of thought. Samu and Gene Snitsky, he was working as the Patriot, but he was on WWF for a while as Snitsky.
Right, yeah.
The big team was with us, and these soldiers were so happy to see Americans get off that plane, and they were just telling us that we're heroes for being there. And I go, oh, you're kidding me? Me and Gene, we were in tears, man. You guys are the heroes, brothers. You guys, man, look at the bullet holes all around in your tents and everything. You guys are the guys fighting for our freedom. We're not the heroes, man. We're just here to spend a little bit of time with you as much as we're allowed, and we have to move on to another camp or something. But you guys are it, man. They were it. That was it. So it was some remarkable things we got to do, and wrestling provided that for me. So I want to write about it, share my stories, and talk about a lot of the guys I met. For all I know, he might be talking about the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. I don't know.
Yeah, that's scary.
Spent the time with Donald at WrestleMania, whatever it was, 6, I think it was, in L.A.
Right, yeah.
And so many people, so many celebrities and people I got to hang out with and work on some movies and do some things. And
you've had a story.
Gene Appel provided a lot of that for me, and Red Epstein and.
Well, you've had a storied life. I mean, I love having you on. You're so full of pure wrestling knowledge, and you have a love for the sport. I've had a couple emails from people that bring Billy back on,
That's great.
I mean, seriously.
I really did. I got into wrestling, and gosh, I don't know, maybe I should be put in an insane asylum for saying this, but I got into wrestling not to make money. I got in to have fun and do something I love to do. And a friend of mine once asked me a few years ago, he says, Bill, when you were wrestling, did you ever feel like it was work? And let me tell you, I had some hard times wrestling, but you know what, when I look back, I never considered it work, and even though I had to sometimes drive 20 and 30 hours at a time, wrestle for little money. One time I had a match where I drove from L.A. to Eureka, which is a 12-hour drive, Eureka, California, north of you, 12 hours each way, and I did that for Red Bastine for $50.
Oh, geez, that's for the love.
You tell me how many people would spend 24 hours in a car and make $50. But these are the kind of sacrifices you make.
That's love.
You love something.
Yes.
And I got to spend some time with friends and quality time in the car traveling. Made friends for life with two of the guys in the car I'd never met before the trip. And so when you spend 24 hours with somebody and you're locked in a car together, you get to know them. Oh, you know whether you're going to like them or not like them.
Right.
And these guys are my friends to this day, and that happened in 1984. So these are the kind of things that are important in breaking into wrestling is, you know, knowing where you stand with things and being respectful of others and appreciating what you have and enjoying yourself.
Well, it's a lost art. What you went through and what you did lovingly won't be done again. I mean, I'm willing to, except by the independent wrestlers, you know, that
true.
They might, but not on the big scale. But before I started doing these podcasts and reading the wrestling books, you know, that wrestlers would write, the autobiographies, I really had no idea of the road trip, the times you guys spend in a car. It's amazing.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Some people...
And I might add, Fred, with all of these road trips I did, it was before the era of cell phones.
Yes, that's something you need to realize. Right.
So, you know, when you needed to call your wife or your husband or whoever it was at home, you had to find a payphone sometimes out in the middle of the desert at a gas station. It wasn't like today's luxury of four guys riding in a car and you're all on the internet and phone and you multimedia things, you're tweeting and everything else, and 600,000 people know exactly where you're at driving through northern Arizona. Back in our day, you were just lost souls out of the highway.
Exactly.
You know, that's the way it was. And we didn't complain because we didn't know any better. That's all we knew. You know, that's just the way life was.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. And something else you should bring up, you didn't know until you rode on that road a couple times and memorized where the good places to eat were. You were lucky to find good food, too, I bet.
That's true, yeah. Well, I know, you know, when I go to Los Angeles now and visit my son, there's sometimes it'll be 9 o'clock at night. We're in L.A. We're driving around, and I'll say, hey, honey, do a Google search and find out where this restaurant is. I don't know where it is. Those luxuries are really cool today, but back in the old days, you know, you just had to drive around until you found some.
Yeah,
you know,
word of mouth.
I don't want to sound like such an old timer where it was like, you know, I rode a horse to school type thing, but. You know, that's just the way life was back in those days, and I'm glad it was because we were hardened up. It toughened us up to a point, being on the road in those days. We certainly weren't spoiled. And, when you wrestled in Mexico in the old days, you know, you were lucky to find some water to drink and everything else. It's a lot easier now, and I'm sure in 2016, than it was back in '86 when I was there, and I couldn't find water to save my life.
Well, that's
just clean water, at least.
Well, that's part of the questions that I have for you on this episode number 38 of Derfcast is your time in Mexico. People really, the average fan who knows about Billy Anderson doesn't think of him as being in Mexico as long as you were. You were down there quite a while. With a number of gimmicks.
I spent a lot of time down there. I wish I would have learned Spanish more than the few words I do know. It's part of my negligence as an American, that laziness that I don't do what a lot of other people do when they go to countries and they learn the language a lot faster. Of course, I did the same thing in Japan. I didn't learn more than a few words. But I did spend a lot of time in Mexico because, and it goes back to being a fan of the Mexican culture of wrestling. And when I was 14 years old, I used to buy, I was living in Phoenix here, I used to buy all of the Mexican wrestling magazines. They were called KO, Boxy Lucha, Lucha Libre. These magazines they were weekly magazines, hit the stands, and I would go every week and buy these new magazines to see all these colorful characters like Mil Mascaras and even Gordman and Goliath, who were in L.A., they would be on the covers of these magazines, and El Santo and the Blue Demon and all these characters. And it wasn't until just, several years later, I was in the ring with many of these guys, working with Ramirez, and Mil Mascaras wrestled them a dozen times. And these are my heroes. I was just a big fan of theirs in the ring. So that's what made life cool, is you're doing the same thing and you're an equal to them. You have equal billing to them on a show, and that's a pretty big thrill.
Oh, I bet you and your partner Tim Patterson.
Yeah. We were the Mercenaries, and we were with Louis Spicoli. We were the 6-man tag team champions of Mexico for about 3 years, from 88 to 91. We held the 3-man belts. And it was a pretty remarkable run. We wrestled a lot of really great teams in Mexico, and we were very fortunate. Wrestled Chavo, Hector, Eddie Guerrero.
That's a trio.
Different pairings of those guys.
Wow. I didn't know you wrestled them as a trio.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
And, Eddie Guerrero, it's in his autobiography. He says his first championship belt he ever had was beating the Mercenaries, Billy Anderson, Tim Patterson, and Louis Spicoli.
Awesome. Now,
you look through his biography, Why Steal and Cheat or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He has a paragraph in there about his first title, his first belt he ever won as a wrestler was against us.
Really? And, now, was that with Art Barr?
Cool thing.
Was that with Art Barr or?
No. This is brothers.
Got you. Okay, totally understand the time now. Now I get it.
This is the Guerrero brothers.
Right.
This is before Art was down there. Art was down there in the early 90s. This is the late 80s.
Gotcha. And what people don't remember
is when Eddie was first breaking in.
Right.
And he was real thin and small at that time, but it didn't matter. He'd been trained. He knew how to wrestle.
Right. Well,
as they come,
After he did that, he went to LaBelle, right? After he.
He did some there. Yeah. And the other Chavo and Mondo and all, and Hector had all been there too, and everything. Right. And Eddie was just a hell of a wrestler.
Well, go ahead.
The other way.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, Vince put the belt on him and had him beat Brock Lesnar here at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Yeah. I was there. I saw that match. I was stunned. Just could not believe it. The electricity that night was fantastic. And Eddie ended up winning. Well, let me ask you what I wanted to ask you is a couple questions about your time in Mexico. You already said about the water. Since you didn't speak much Spanish, who directed you towards the food? Did you make?
I'll tell you, I was on a 2-week tour around Guadalajara. That was where we were based out of, and I was with Atlantis, who's still one of the biggest names in the EML office, EML promotion, or CMLL now they call it. It used to be EMLL.
Okay.
But the CMLL, he just won a mask match against. Was it La Sombra or something like that, sold out the Arena Mexico with like 18,000 people just a few months back. But Atlantis and El Rayo de Jalisco Jr. Were the two biggest name guys that I traveled with. And Atlantis speaks as much English as I speak Spanish. And every single morning he knocked on my door. He goes, Billy, come. And he motioned for me to follow him. And he'd take me to go eat every day.
Wow.
And it is an unspoken camaraderie that these guys have down there. They're class people. I absolutely have so much respect for luchadors. All these guys that I wrestled down there, the Villanos, Los Villanos, the sons of Ray Mendoza, great people, great wrestlers, great mentality, total gentlemen, knew how to act and how to treat their fellow wrestlers. It didn't matter if there was a language barrier or not. It meant nothing. And good wrestlers can get in the ring no matter if you do not speak the right language and still provide a decent match for the fans. And we were able to do that night in and night out. And I was with most of the guys I was with didn't speak any English. One guy that was my partner on a few shows was Baby Sharon, who does the Exotico type gimmick. Where he just passed away a while back, and he's in my book, my third book.
Gotcha.
I wrote about Baby Sharon because he was a really good friend, helped me a lot with translation and things. So Baby Sharon was my tag team partner on some shows against Rayo de Jalisco Jr. and Atlantis. But it would have been probably better to have an opponent speak my language than my partner.
That makes sense.
It worked out okay. But I was very fortunate because I got to wrestle not only Rayo Jr., but I got to wrestle his dad in '84 in Tijuana many times. And his dad, Rayo de Jalisco Sr., was a total legend. I mean, he goes back into the 40s and 50s of wrestling in Mexico. And and he's still alive. He's still around.
Really?
He's a very elderly man now, and out of wrestling, long out of wrestling. But I was thrilled to get in the ring and wrestle Rayo de Jalisco. I look at some of the pictures I have of me twisting his head, and now as I'm older, and I know he's very elderly, I feel so guilty at some of the pictures.
Well, you have.
I hope I didn't hurt him or anything. I feel bad.
Well, let me tell you, Bill, outside of a couple people that were wrestling photographers, Mike Lano, the man in L.A., Theo Threat, I think his name is, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. You have as many pictures as them, if not more, and I love seeing them on Facebook, which is what attracted me to you in the first place.
Exactly. You know what, Fred? I took pictures all the time, and it was never, ever, ever, ever in my mind, not one time ever did it cross my mind that this is for future books, anything.
Gotcha.
They went into photo albums that traced across the country with 35 of these big 3-inch thick full volumes of my whole career. I have 3 of these big books just of Mexico alone, of all these programs and pictures I collected and the travels. The same I did 2 books full of Japan stuff and my Pacific tour and my Middle East tours. I saved a lot of things. I really cherish my memories of being on the road.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Meeting friends and hanging out. Going to Pearl Harbor with Gene Snitsky and things like that. And I told this story to Superstar Billy Graham over lunch last Friday. I did something that's funny that no one will ever say they did. I'm the only guy that ever did it. And I did it with one-man gang. Me and him were out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean snorkeling with sharks underneath us. And luckily, Gang took some pictures of the sharks underneath us because he had a camera that could take underwater pictures. But me and him, us 2 big, huge guys, well, he's bigger than me, but taller, I should say. But us 2 big guys were just floating out in the ocean. We had a boat. It was for an island that we were doing some shows for, Johnston Island, for a military base that was there at the time. And they took us out on a big cruise boat and just dumped us out in the water. And, we drifted like a 1/8 of a mile away from the boat. And we're just floating out there in the ocean. And we look down and we're snorkeling. We look down in the water and there's sharks swimming underneath us, 20, 30 feet. And, I don't know about you, but this is just my mentality. It's like, man, I'm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a one-man gang. I think this is the coolest thing on earth.
I'm so
I didn't even care if I got eaten.
Gotcha.
Can you imagine all the magazines and all the internet? Hey, Bill Anderson got eaten with a one-man gang. Yeah. These are just memories. These are memories I'll never have again. I'll never be able to do this again. Well, this opportunity probably won't come up. But you know what? I'm so thankful I got the chance to do it. And I'm going to share these stories as part of my autobiography and talk about all of this and document it with I have all the dates of everything. I saved every bit of document.
Well, it's all going to be fruit of your labor, as they say. Now, what's the title of you haven't mentioned the title of your autobiography.
The title of this book is "I Carry the Scars."
Now, how did that come about?
It's kind of play on words, just a slight bit,
Yeah, I'm almost laughing.
There's the scars of the world and the scars of wrestling and blood and sweat and tears and just the scarring of life and the sacrifices you make.
Right.
I sacrificed my last marriage because I was still young and healthy and wanted to travel, and my wife kept saying, get a job, get a regular job, get away from wrestling, get away from the traveling, get away from being gone 30 days at a time or 2 weeks at a time. I don't care if you come back with thousands of dollars. It doesn't do anything. I'm still home alone with our baby at the time, our son. And so I made decisions that were very wrong, but I was doing my passion. I was very passionate about my career. I was not thinking long term on life. I was living day to day in my mind. And my day-to-day happiness was I put wrestling in front of things, and that's something I do have regrets about that. I can't do anything about it now, but that's one of the reasons I still am. I have a very good relationship with my ex-wife, and I have a very, very good relationship with my son. I see him at least once a month. I go over and spend a couple days with him, and we go sightseeing and do things around LA and that sort of thing. So I try to make up for as much as I can and that kind of thing.
Well, you had a life, I'm from the outside looking in, you had a life that not too many people on God's green earth get a chance to live. Think about it. You've done it all in the wrestling world. You got to see so many celebrities do movies, make lifelong friendships. I can't say that about my life, but then again, I'm not a professional wrestler, but you've done it all. You've been to how many continents? Every single continent?
Yeah, except I've never been to Australia, unfortunately.
Really? You never got a chance to go there or wrestle? I thought
never had a chance to go there. It just never materialized.
So, real quick, as a side note, now they had pretty big wrestling crowds, up to the 80s, the middle 80s, they had the promotion there, and one of the promoters' name was Crockett. Was it the same Crockett, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I remember seeing black and white tapes at some point somewhere where I was on vacation as a teenager. But anyway, somewhere where it was either in. My audience doesn't need to know where it was. I saw him someplace in my life, and then when YouTube, I'm having a slow night, Bill. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. On YouTube, I saw the same tapes of Bulldog Brower, Big Bad John, Mark Lewin, big names.
He used to go over there.
In black and white, big time promotion. But so you've been to every continent. I guess we could drift away from Mexico and talk about Japan. I've never talked to you about FMW.
Yeah, that was a pretty brutal promotion. There was a lot of blood over there.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I was over there with Sabu and the Sheik, if that tells you anything. The original Sheik, Eddie Farhat out of Detroit. And all my tours had Sabu and the Sheik on. And Tiger Jeet Singh was with us from Toronto, and those were the main headlining guys. But they used guys from Canada, Mexico, Korea, all over the place, a mixture of guys. That's why they call it frontier martial arts wrestling. It was kind of a mix of all kinds of different styles of wrestling, or kind of UFC before UFC in a way.
Interesting.
In fact, I had 2 boxer versus wrestler matches against Leon Spinks.
You did yourself?
Yes. Well,
wait a minute.
Matches, but
wait a minute. Wait. I have never heard about that. I heard about Leon Spinks going to Japan. It was against you.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, Bill.
Twice I was in the ring with Leon, and a super nice guy.
You gotta tell. You have to tell. Now, when you're on, I'll kiss your ass a little bit. When you're on, I get my biggest audience. So you have to tell my big audience something about those two matches. Leon Spinks. So he had stopped boxing. Do you know why he went into wrestling for his name? Was he asked, or did he seek it out to make money?
I think he needed the money.
Gotcha.
He was paid, not by the boxing standards a lot of money, but in wrestling standards a lot. He was paid $1,000 a night for his work, and he was on tour with us for 30 days.
Wow.
So, that's a pretty good sum of money, $30,000.
Hell yeah, Bill.
Yeah. And I wasn't making that much. The Sheik was, and Tiger Jeet Singh was, and Leon Spinks was, but I wasn't. But I wasn't complaining.
Gotcha.
Better money there than I was in Mexico or U.S.
Oh, I bet. But back to Leon real quick. I mean, I'm glad you made money. It's funny. I had Mickey Doyle on, and that's what he always talks about. Well, did the guys make money? Now I understand why he has that mentality, which is great. But Leon Spinks, that's amazing, because I liked him when he was boxing. Yeah,
I was a big fan of his. And Leon would travel with us. I mean, he had a great sense of humor. A little bit different than a wrestling mentality. He came from another world, but he was still an entertainer, and he understood where we were coming from.
Really?
And I took some goofing around pictures of the dressing room, where I think a midget wrestler was going to cut his throat. I think that's one of my pictures where we have two minis from Mexico, and they one of them we joked around with. I used to tie his shoes together in the bus so that he'd get up and he'd fall down in the middle of the floor on that tour bus that we were on. And he used to get back at us like he'd grab he had a little knife he carried, and he would get up on a table and act like he's going to attack us with this knife. So you're seeing this little midget jumping on the table, running at us, and I think I took a picture of him with the knife around Leon's throat.
Oh, that's great. Is that going to be in your book?
I'll post it on Facebook, Fred.
It's again, I'm in awe of that, because when I read that, somewhere I read it, it might have been Dave Miltzer's column that I subscribed to way back when. This was before the internet, or right when it started.
I'll tell you when it was. It was 91, I think it was.
Okay, so the internet was kind of starting then. Kind of, but I remember reading Leon Spinks, what's in he wrestling for? And then it hit me. Joe Louis, Archie Moore. I go, okay, well, he just followed in their footsteps. Actually, if I remember right, and I know a couple guys on my audience will let me know if I'm right or wrong, Roy Shires booked Archie Moore with Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens in their feud at the Cow Palace as a referee.
I can believe that, yeah.
Or was it Joe Louis?
Yeah. A lot of these guys were, they were really out of the limelight. Some of them didn't save all their money and that sort of thing.
Right. It was easy payday.
Some of them lost it in divorces, and, this and that. And if somebody offers you $500 or $1,000 for a night's work, that's a nice little chunk of change.
Oh, hell yeah. And plus they were a name draw.
Leon, to be on a 30-day tour. I did all of the FMW tours were a month long.
Wow.
And he was on the one with the Sheik and Sabu and all of us. And so I was in two tags, I call them mixed, the boxers. And the guy that was with him was acting like a boxer, but he wasn't. He was a wrestler.
Did you remember his name?
Boxers with gloves on. No, it was a guy out of Indianapolis, I think.
Doesn't matter.
Or Detroit. So it was like it was a good crew of guys. We had a lot of fun. I took a bunch of pictures of Leon. And he was always very friendly, always very nice and everything. And I think he just got a kick out of how wacky we all were, because we were wearing masks. I was the mercenaries. Myself and another guy named Lou Fabiano. We were the mercenaries. My first tour over to Mexico, to Japan, in '91. I tried to get Louis Spicoli to go with me, and he had a girlfriend that didn't want him to go. So he couldn't go, so I turned it over to Lou Fabiano, and I said, Lou had been trained by Alpha from the Samoans, a really good wrestler, and I knew Lou. And I said, Lou, you want to go? And he said, yep, man, I got my passport, I'm ready. And I said, okay, brother, you're my partner. Buy some camouflage pants, and you're my new partner.
That's such a great story. Now, Leon's brother, Michael Spinks, I always thought was a little bit better boxer, and he won the heavyweight title. Mike Tyson beat the living daylights out of him, and under one round, Bill to win the title and brought.
Yeah.
That was a letdown because I really wasn't paying much attention to boxing at the time.
Right.
And Michael Spinks fighting Mike Tyson, and everybody's talking about Tyson. I didn't even know who he was. And it turns out he beat the crap out of Mike in one round.
I was just worried with Leon a couple of times that, I didn't want him to get too carried away.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, yes, of course. Whether he's going to work.
I think it's like 1985 again or 1975.
Right. You get a scene like Rocky Balboa and Mr. T, and
exactly. Yeah.
Let me ask you a side question. Have you seen Creed?
No, I have still not seen that.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you what you thought of it. I saw it, and Sylvester definitely deserves the Best Supporting Actor award.
Really?
He was brilliant.
I heard that from other people, friends of mine that did go see it. Brilliant. I postponed seeing it until it's out of a lot of the theaters now.
You will.
And but I just knew without even seeing it that it was going to be a classic.
Yeah, he put his heart into it.
The storyline and the plot is just too perfect for Stallone.
I mean, not to say he didn't put his heart in any other movies that he's done, but this he really put his heart into. Also, the Rocky movie before this, Rocky Balboa, was okay. I thought myself.
I loved all of them.
Same here.
The training sequences that he always went through, the emotion that he put into it all, and his heart and soul, and I think Stallone's just a genius.
Oh my God, yes.
No matter what it is, the Expendables or the Rambo movies, he's just a genius.
I'd like to see you in the Expendables 4.
I would pay them to be in that movie. They would have to jump at time for me.
I think
we would cater my own food in.
Pay a couple of them 10-pound burgers and cater for everybody.
Oh man. Yeah, that 3-pound burger I ate today, I probably won't be eating for 2 days now.
I got you. I'm glad I'm not your roommate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we won't talk about that. But another movie question. Did you happen to catch Roddy Piper's movie, The Saint?
Yes, I did. I had an advanced copy of it.
Oh, that's right.
Several months ago, and I thought Roddy. Did you see it?
No, I had so many things going on. I started a second job, and I didn't have the time. So I'll get it when it comes out on CBS.
Yeah. Well, Roddy steals the movie.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
He's so polished in it, and he's playing the role of a promoter, wrestling promoter, and I don't think you could have chosen anybody to do it better than Roddy, because he's lived it. I mean, he lived the whole thing for 40 years of his life, or 50 years, 25 years of his life being around wrestling.
I could just imagine how good he was in it.
He was so natural that the lines flowed like real. They were real. Wow. And he was really good, and it's just so heartbreaking when you watch something like that and know it's the end of his life, though.
That might be.
You never to see the finished product.
That might be the reason why I didn't really. Let's be honest. I could have made time. I guess subconsciously I couldn't drag myself to see it for that reason. Let's be honest. I have to be honest. I really couldn't do it.
It's a real catch-22 thing. It's his last film, so you really want to see it. But then there's nothing comes after that.
Right, and I didn't want to start crying in the theater.
When you see a strong and healthy and vibrant man standing there in playing the role of a ring announcer and the promoter of a show, and knowing he's not around at this point in life anymore. We're watching him from this camera. This camera's capturing him. And he's not real anymore. He's not really alive anymore. It's only in our memories now.
It's part of life.
It's very, very, very sad. Because I've already written quite a bit about my relationship to Roddy. I haven't even gotten to a lot of it, but I've written a lot in my book. Because I was around Roddy and what it meant to me. And he was just a real one-of-a-kind guy.
Well,
and real rough for the man.
You're singing the same song. I don't mean to be rude by saying singing the same song, but everybody I've had on basically has some tie to Roddy. I mean, Johnny Mantell, he talked about 20 minutes of being with Roddy. Rock Riddle talked about 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, well, I saw him when he was first starting out in L.A.
Yeah, and you and Mickey Doyle. Alan Oates,
got to work at 2 movies with that guy, you know. And I was at Body Slam and Tag Team I got to work in.
God, that must have been so cool.
That's amazing.
What's your memory of that? What's the? I say Body Slam Tag Team. What do you say? First thing that comes to mind.
Everything around Roddy is just the greatest.
Gotcha.
He has such a presence. I just wrote about what he told the guy. He told Al Needham. Al Needham was a director of Body Slam, and was one of the big stuntmen back in the day in the 50s, 40s, 60s with John Wayne. He was a John Wayne double for some scenes in his westerns, and Al Needham directed the movie. And when we did our wrestling scene in Riverside, California, at a bar, Roddy told the audience, or not the audience, he told the camera people, and he told Al Needham, when we got in the ring, it was myself and Tim Patterson against him and Tonga Kid in this tag match. And he says, this match is going to be about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. That's what we had choreographed for this scene. And he says, Al, just so you know, you got 5 cameras. I see them all around the building here. You need to get them all turned on and all working, and everybody get this down one time, because we're not doing a second take of this wrestling match.
Wow.
A one-take deal. He says, these wrestlers are professionals. They do this for a living, and they shouldn't have to work any harder than they're supposed to work for it. And it's a one-shot deal. And he says, we don't go out and rehearse our matches in an arena before we do them in front of the crowd. And he says, they're not going to do it that way here either.
Wow.
Because we've worked a couple spots out. And that's for the sake of the synchronicity for the movie and everything. And that's it. It's one shot. So he says, when you don't cut, that's it. These guys leave the ring and they're done.
So you think beforehand somebody had asked him, well, are you going to practice like you do in the ring for your matches? And you think that upset him?
He didn't want it to be one of these, like, 12-take things. You know, okay, there's somebody in the audience moved, we don't like this. And he made it very clear, and it was a one-take deal.
Wow.
He was a man of his word, and Al Needham knew that Roddy was not to be messed with. He was to be respected, respect the man. He was a star of the movie, and let it go. And so we did one take, and I loved it. Roddy beat me with a figure 4 leg lock. He did a knee drop off the rope, like the middle rope, and he rolls out of the way, and I land on my knee, and then he instantly hooks me up. And in a figure 4, and my partner, Tim Patterson, I think he gets drop kicked or something by the Tonga Kid.
Right, over the rope.
Yeah, ropes and stuff like that. And so that was our thing. And
right.
You know, I just had a ton of respect for Roddy.
Right.
He was just a real man. You know, he was a man's man, and took no crap from nobody. And I don't even, respect doesn't even do it justice. I idolize the guy, you know, and it's just a really hell of a guy. And I defy it like anybody to come up with any other words to say negative about. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't fight people.
I mean, you know, one thing that lights a fire under my ass is if anybody says anything negative about Roddy on Facebook or on my site, Roddy Piper Rocks, I go off, and that's probably the only thing on Facebook I go off about. But you know what, Bill? It's only happened one time in 4 years. Nobody says anything bad against Roddy. And this is when he was alive. You know, God bless his soul. And do you realize how, I mean, stop and think, and you've said it a lot, you know, maybe it's the portion of the show where I kiss your butt, but you've been blessed with so many good people in your life that you've talked about. You know, one-man gang. I've never heard anything bad about him from anybody.
Real decent family man. A wife and a son, and that's all he ever talked about when I was on the road with him. And I have nothing but respect for that kind of a man. I mean, Roddy was the same way.
Well, back to one-man gang real quick. A lot of fans out there don't realize his gimmick or character before Vince was a tough guy. Was tattooed. You know, one-man gang. What does that tell you? A tough guy. Well, McMahon turned him totally around and made him the African Dream, Akeem, which basically was a joke. A white man playing a black man, and he pulled it off. I'm telling you, I sat ringside A number of times.
So the real important thing, too, to remember is he was still feeding his family, and that,
right.
You know, it's no different than the Red Rooster, as stupid of a gimmick.
Yeah, I'm not disparaging anybody that changed their gimmick to put food on the table was the number one reason, but the way he did it and went about it, I mean, I'm willing to say, maybe you'll agree or not, but I don't think I know. My own opinion is that his transition from one-man gang, being a guy that was in chain matches, brass knuckle matches, gore all the, blood all the time, beating the hell out of people, being portrayed as a giant guy, having to wear a costume like he did, playing a black guy, farting in the ring, and dancing with Slick. He worked it, and he made it work, Bill. I mean, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. I could not wait for him to come to the ring, you know?
Yeah.
He was great. People don't give him enough credit for that. I know you guys in the sport do, you know.
Gang's a cool guy. He's like the Godfather, you know. The Godfather comes to the business, into the shows each night when he was working with a good attitude and a good family man, and have fun with the fans. And that's what Akeem did, and that's what he brought to the table each night was he wanted to go out there and have some fun.
Oh, it showed.
Anybody, not hurt his opponent, I work with him. You saw a picture from the Cow Palace.
Yes.
One Man Gang. And,
I was there.
And
yes.
Gang sent me that, and I was so happy, as I had never seen that picture before. And everybody, of course, you get the snide remarks like, where's the picture of you getting the advantage on him? And it's like, you missed the point, man.
You missed the point.
John Wayne movie, and I'm the bartender. I'd have been just as happy being the bartender as his partner on a cattle drive. I'm in a John Wayne movie, okay?
Exactly. I mean, one of Vince's brilliant brainstorms was turning him into Akeem, because he picked the right guy for the part, you know.
Yeah.
And, other wrestlers you've been in the ring with that I'm insanely jealous with, back to the Guerreros. I mean, what a legacy. That
many matches with all four of the Guerrero brothers.
It's very underrated.
Double Jr., but I wrestled the four brothers. And,
right.
Many times.
Now, did you ever wrestle Gory, the father?
No. In fact, I only met Gory one time. And I regret so much. I met him in 1989, maybe 4 or 5 months before he passed away. He came to San Bernardino for California for a show that Red Bastien was putting on with all four of the Guerrero brothers. And Gory showed up to get in the ring with him. And I was working as the Mercenaries, and Conan was there, and Pirata Morgan, and other stars from Mexico City were there on the show. And that was the one time I met Gory, and I regretted never taking a picture with him.
Oh,
I was so busy wrestling that day, and I kept saying, I'll take a picture with him. First time I ever got a chance to meet the man. And
right. Well, you met him.
Legend. Yeah. It was cool. I remember the exact spot when I shook his hand. I remember exactly where I was standing.
Wow. Well,
I was so thrilled by it, and
that's a legend.
Look at the Guerreros, man.
I mean, in my book, he's definitely one of the top 20 legends in the business ever. In my book.
Yeah.
And again, let's go back to your book. We're running out of a little bit of time here. We've got about 12 minutes. But give us the titles of your 3 books. And let me ask you this, and be honest, which you always are, but which one of the 3 books you're writing is your favorite? I mean, maybe that's a bad question. I apologize.
I can't say any of them are bad, but I could just say there were different qualities of paper used or different fonts used in the books.
Right. Your favorite, though.
Because I was self-published these books.
Right. And
by self-publishing, you have more control over the book.
Exactly. People don't realize that about self-publishing.
And it's something that I'm learning lessons from, the good and bad of it all, self-publishing. I might not even self-publish my autobiography. I might use Scott Teal in Tennessee or a professional person to co-author with me. I'm not sure how I'm going to go about it. Right now I'm spending time writing. And I like I say, I've got quite a bit done. and I've got a long ways to go, but I'm working daily on it.
Uh-huh.
I'm inputting something every day, some days more than others. But I've enjoyed all three of my books. They've all been enlightening to me on a lot of topics. My second book is real important to me. My big Bill Anderson Remembers His Fallen Prince of Wrestling, because of writing about John Tolis and talking to Tolis just weeks and maybe a month and a half before he passed away, and telling the man I loved him and I respected him, and he was battling cancer and the heart problems and everything else. And for that matter, writing about George Crybaby Cannon and the Kangaroos, and they were friends of mine. And see, certain books have certain different meanings to me. The book about Mexico is very much important, very important to me about that topic. My lucha days of wrestling in Mexico was very, very important to me and very satisfying and everything. So they're all important to me. It's hard to answer that. And I guess it's probably like having 3 pets or 3 kids and saying which one's your favorite.
Gotcha.
Which one do you not like the most?
I apologize for that question.
Oh, no, it's a good question. Made me think for a second there.
Well, that's good, I guess. But
I'll tell you this, Fred. My autobiography, I discovered different things about me that I should know, but I forget things as a human being, and I'm only like 59 years old, and not like 400 years old yet, and I don't think I am, but I still forget things in my life that I've done, and I came across matches, I uncovered matches that I had, and I forgot I even did them. 2 matches come to mind. I wrestled Blackjack Mulligan and the Spoiler, Don Jardine, for WWF shows in L.A., and I'd forgotten about him.
Really?
And whenever I list, like, famous guys I wrestled or something, I never even put Blackjack Mulligan in there, and he was a hell of a big name.
Oh, my God, yeah, with the Blackjacks with Bobby Heenan in Chicago against Bruiser and Mercer.
Exactly. And I take it for granted. I miss these matches. I forget about them because I was in the ring with so many damn guys, It's just so many, and then I started trying to list them, and then you end up like, oh, my God, I left out Jake Roberts. I only wrestled 12 times, or I left out Tito Santana, or I left out Greg Valentine. And it's like, how can I do that? And it's like, so I've been blessed by meeting and traveling and wrestling a lot of guys. It's going to be my interesting book. It's going to be the one I'm going to be obviously the most proud of. So I'm really going in depth about my life, about my travels, about my family, the negative sides, the things I've done wrong in life, the things I've done right, the good people, the bad, and I'm kind of telling it like it is with certain wrestlers, not pulling any punches. It's not a negative book at all. But if somebody was an ass, then they're an ass.
There you go.
And if they're a great guy, then I will sing their praises to high heaven, such as like a one-man gang and a Roddy Piper or Billy Graham or certain people that were very close friends of mine. And Jim Cornette, different odd people. The late, great Paul Bearer, who did the foreword for my first book, and passed away not long after it was released. They're very special memories for me. And if anybody wants to buy those books or they want to check them out, they can go to my website. It's a very small website, very simple. It's just BigBillAnderson.net. And they can look on there, and there's a link to PayPal if they choose that method. Or if somebody wants to email me about another method of payment or figure out something else, my email address is BillAnderson2009@yahoo.com, and we can talk. And anybody wants to write, just ask me any questions, whatever. I'm pretty open to that.
Yes, you are.
Respectful.
Yes, as long as you don't say you're entitlement or entitled.
Right. I'm entitled to your time.
Jesus.
Don't get to know her foul.
We won't get into that unless you want to. But I have a question from my sometimes co-host, Bob, from Bob's Radio Cafeteria, who I'm going to apologize beforehand for my horrible...
Quiet tonight.
Pardon?
Bob's been very quiet tonight.
Well, he's not going to be when he hears the show from my horrible beginning of not mentioning Ralph Tycho's Comfortably Zoned Radio Network on I feel like shit for not saying that right. But Bob's my buddy. We're there for each other. He is a great, real, true wrestling fan. He's not a mark. His question to you, and beforehand he says he wants to, let me just say his question instead, and then I'll say this. His question for you is, whose grave do you want to see the most? What's the holy grail of graves to you? And that's referring to your hobby of visiting graves, which I have done myself, but not taken pictures, and so has he. So you're not alone.
Well, I'll tell you the answer to that's real simple. I think, because I've been to a lot of my Hollywood heroes' graves, the man I named my son after was Audie Murphy, who was the most decorated soldier in World War II.
Yes, he was.
Audie Murphy single-handedly captured a couple hundred Germans while he was wounded, saving his unit from being killed, and jumped on a burning tank and mowed down and captured hundreds of Germans by himself. An amazing hero. He's the most decorated man. He's got every award imaginable. Audie Murphy, and I named my son after him. Well, Audie's buried with John Kennedy up there in if I can remember the cemetery,
Arlington.
In Arlington, at Arlington Cemetery. And if I go to see Audie Murphy's grave, not far from his grave is Mr. Lee Marvin, one of my favorite actors.
I love Lee Marvin.
Who is buried in Lee Marvin, the actor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and he's buried there too from his service in World War II. And I would definitely go see Lee Marvin's grave and Audie Murphy's grave.
Well, that answers Bob's question, and he wanted me to tell you that if you ever come to the Bay Area, he'll bring you to a couple famous graves here. And right here in the Presidio, I think there's an ex-president buried.
I did not know that.
I think there is. My history buffs of my audience out there, when you're on, number the smartest and the most, will let me know, and I'll let you know next time.
Well, just south of where you are, I went to the graves of Wyatt Earp.
Yes.
And Joe DiMaggio.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Abigail Folger, who was murdered by the Charles Manson family with Sharon Tate. She's in a crypt at the same cemetery as Joe DiMaggio. And I went to their graves, and I also went in Oakland to the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short's grave. And she is buried there, the woman that was cut in half by her murderer in 1947 in L.A.
Oof.
Yeah, so I went to those graves, but I can't do them all. I still have...
You got a lot of time. You have a lot of time, you and your son together, to do that. And
we do some special things different than some people.
Hey, you know what? Quality time is just that. Quality time. Whether it's playing ping pong, cleaning the driveway, visiting grave sites, working on a car, you're blessed to get father and son time. You really are.
That's true. In fact, I went over to L.A. in a week and a half.
Really?
Shatner, who is 84 years old, William Shatner's got a book signing. He did a book called Leonard, My 50-Year Friendship, or something with Leonard Nimoy.
Right.
And I've gone over for William Shatner's book signing and spent a couple days with my son, and we're going to go do some romping around L.A. I go to some Marilyn Monroe sites and things like that. And,
wow. Well, if it works out, I might be down south at that point in time. I'll keep in touch, and maybe we can meet in person. And
that would be cool.
You can give me...
I'll be there on Thursday and Friday, the 18th and 19th.
Gotcha. I'm writing that down right now, and you can give me a big Billy Anderson bear hug.
There you go, brother.
Because I'm only 5'6", 150 pounds. You probably had towels wrapped around you. Well, Billy, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want you back again.
My pleasure, Fred.
You have cheered me up today.
I've done a lot of podcasts in my life, in the last few years, I should say, maybe, and I really enjoy yours probably the most. I just had a good time.
Thank you. I tried.
Going, and I like it. It's easy.
I was telling my last guest, Rock Riddle, last week, I'm not name dropping, it's just who was on the show. And I told him, because off air he asked me, well, do you ever want to start making money? You can get better guests, and this was off air. And I said, no, I'm not doing this for money. I don't want to do it for money unless somebody thinks I'm good enough to syndicate, fine, but I'm not going to go out and seek anybody for that or, promote the show. I do this for fun and the love the same love you have for wrestling. You know, I wasn't blessed with the big body. My parents screwed me over. Never forgiven them for it. But God bless both of them. And to that, I always had food on the table, clothes on my back. I wasn't beaten or molested, God forbid, or anything like that, so I can't get too mad at them. But damn it, Mom and Dad, you could have given me a 6'3" body. God darn it. You know, and I love this sport. It was times when I was a teenager when I was really, really depressed, Bill, going through some stuff. And wrestling probably saved my life in more ways than one. And I've always gravitated towards it. And I thank you for being on this podcast. And that's what this podcast is about, is this real old-school wrestling. And your stories are amazing. And one more time...
I'm glad you want to talk about that, because I couldn't tell you any champion of any promotion currently. But
well, neither could I anymore.
I can sure reflect back on the good old days when Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson were wrestling, and legends like those guys, and Lars Anderson, and Paul DeMarco, and the greats of the Bay Area. And
oh my God, he was managed by Haru Sasaki. I got the name the first name wrong. That was Paul DeMarco's manager. And
exactly, man. You know, those are the days I treasure, and. You know, I'm a market, a fan, whatever, for any of that stuff. And
so am I.
I told the one-man gang this the other day. He was complimenting me on, he said, Big Bill, you've done it all, brother. He said, I've seen your Facebook page. I've seen so much stuff. We traveled together. You've done everything in the business. And I said, yeah, but you know what, brother? I was still a mark for you when you were at the UWF for Bill Watts. I said, man, you were the hottest commodity there, man.
Oh, my God, was he?
I never missed that show every week because of One Man Gang and the Guerreros and Ted DiBiase.
Oh, and the Freebirds and Terry Bam Bam Gordy beating him for the title.
Promotion.
And Steve Dr. Death.
He could come in there and clean house and this way.
I mean, it was a big deal, you know, when One Man Gang lost the title. But Bill Watts knew what he was doing, you know.
Yeah. And I didn't care if I'd been in the business 12, 13 years at that point. I never missed that show, man. I loved it.
We had it here.
I enjoyed the heck out of that stuff.
I'll tell a real quick story because she's passed on. I had this part-time lover that lived up on Parnassus Street, which is one of the highest parts of San Francisco, hill-wise. I stayed with her for 2 months because UWF Wrestling was on at midnight, and I couldn't watch it anywhere in the I feel like a heel. I couldn't watch it anywhere in the city because nobody had a big enough antenna. There wasn't cable in San Francisco at that time. That carried that little UHF station in Salinas or wherever the hell it was. But God damn it, one night after doing the nasties with her, she passed out. I turned the TV on. Hey, it's midnight. I'll see if I can get channel blah, 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 whatever it is. I watch UWF. It came on, Bill. It came on. There was a young Jim Ross going crazy. Michael P.S. Hayes as the announcer. And I'm like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm not breaking up with her. I'm not breaking up with her because I was going to. And so I stayed at her house every Saturday night for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then they took the show off the air, and I broke up with her.
Oh, man, what a heel. You should have just turned heel and hit her with a chain.
But, Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, I know I don't owe anybody I don't owe anybody an apology, but I'm off my mark tonight. But, Bill, you've really cheered me up. Thank you. And
I'm a little off my part, too, but it's just from what we're eating, unfortunately.
Well, I'm gonna let you go. And maybe
had a wonderful time with you, Fred. I really love it. I love talking about a lot of stuff like this, and it brings back a lot of great memories. And
well, I'm always
sharing like in my book and everything. A lot of road stories, good stories, fun stories, and
well, we'll promote it even more next time, and hopefully I could get Mickey Doyle or Vandell back on. That'd be great. Well, I'm going to let you go, and thanks a lot. I love
Thank you, Fred. You have a wonderful evening, my friend.
All right, you too. You take care.
See ya.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, folks, I really apologize. It's been one of those days. I'm sure we've all had them. And I want to thank last week's guest, Rock Riddle. Bob from Bob's Radio Cafeteria, who's going to hand me a bunch of shit for not being professional on this show, but I love you. God damn it, Bob. And Bill Anderson is such a pleasure. and I thank him for being on the show. I thank you out there for listening to me, and next week I'll be a lot more professional. I've lined up a very special, different surprise guest, and you will enjoy this man. I'm not going to say who he is, so you have to tune in to the next Derfcast. And I want to thank Max, the security guard today, who cost me $346 at the vet. He's okay. And Pike's the engineer. And my guest, Billy Anderson. And you can listen to past episodes of Derfcast on my Facebook page, Fedel Lazarus. You can get there from that. You can get there on Derfcast, all capitals, Derfcast. You can listen to Ralph Tycho's Comfortably Zoned Network on iTunes. Type in Derfcast, and you'll get the last 3 episodes. Ralph, I sincerely apologize to you. I'm so sorry for messing up the beginning of the show here with your name. And I love you. I love you all out there. Just remember, stand up to bullies. It's that easy. This has been Cast episode 38.